The classic anime was great. I love it.
Well, that's all there is to that story, so no need for any more questions.
But the story makes 0 sense. Every Sailor Moon arc connects to the past and the inevitable future of Neo, Queen Serenity and King Endymion. The classic anime forgets all about continuity and about Crystal Tokyo. That's why you have really stupid crap like Galaxia freeing Nehellenia, just because. Instead of doing it so she would force the Sailor Senshi to reveal their true powers and expose their Sailor crystals. I think the classic anime had way better character development and made you care about the villains a lot. But the narrative was just so way off the mark.
Incorrect.
The issue with this mindset is, this person has extrapolated a complaint for the final season of this series, aka the worst season of this series, and applied it to the entire show. That's not how this works, booby. Seasons 1 through 3 are phenomenally well written. There are dozens upon dozens of little details that all tie together in ways you cannot appreciate until you rewatch it with a fine-tooth comb. And even then, I'm still noticing things that strengthen the plot and world building especially. For instance, someone else stated that in R, Ami going overseas to study abroad was random, with the implication that it was contrived and unsupported in the narrative. And so I went back and watched the Ami-centric episodes of the previous season and of the Doomtree arc to see if it truly was random. As it turns out, no, it wasn't. In fact, the opposite is true. Ami getting to study abroad is an expected inevitability. Allow me to explain why. From before Ami even meets Usagi, she is scoring high on every mock exam and standardized test that she can get into. She is, in no uncertain terms, aggressively asserting herself in all academic circles as one of the most brilliant, gifted, and driven students in the country. This doesn't let up when she becomes a Sailor Senshi. She still keeps up with her studies and scores in the top percentile of these country or prefecture-wide tests. Tests that are specifically designed to find promising young minds to point universities, foundations, and government programs at to give them life-changing opportunities. Meaning, Ami being the top scorer in the nation/prefecture/tri-state area/whatever would eventually lead to one of the many interested parties that benefit from these test results, giving her an opportunity to study abroad. Thus, it is expected that Ami would receive the opportunity to study abroad to further her dream of becoming a doctor, her central motivation for doing all this studying in the first place. It may feel random if you're not really paying attention or watching it for the first time, but really, if she didn't receive an opportunity like this, it would have been very suspicious. So, if it's inevitable for Ami to get the opportunity to study abroad, then the writers would have to place this moment at the perfect spot to maximize the narrative and thematic point of this plot and character development. What better place could this have happened than during the breakup arc, when Usagi is having to deal with Mamoru leaving her? Now Ami is leaving too, and it's not just that the friendship is ending, although that would be a rough blow by itself. It's the fact that the one person who has been with Usagi the longest, literally when there were no other Sailor Senshi in the mix, Ami was right by her side. That person is now leaving her as well. Basically, two of the people she's known the longest in this crazy Sailor Senshi life are abandoning her. How will she deal with this pressure? How will the rest of the Senshi get along without their brain, their level-headed, gentle voice of reason, an essential part of their group? How will they cope? And most notably for Ami, what's more important, her destiny as a Sailor Senshi or her dream to be a doctor like her mother? A dream she's had all her life, the main thing that drives her day to day, the motivation that enabled her to endure her loneliness for all these years. Are the friendships she's waited all her life for more valuable to her than her life's ambition? All of these thematic questions and more build on top of each other in a way that wouldn't work if this happened in Super S or Stars. It has to happen in R, and it has to happen during the breakup arc, which thematically is all about putting relationships through the ringer and finding what these characters truly value. So that's why Ami having the chance to study abroad happens when it happens. It's perfectly logical and dramatically satisfying. Classic repeatedly does things like this, where they purposefully set up certain conflicts, thematic questions, character development, etc., and wait for the best moment possible to explore those story beats to get the maximum use out of all these plot points. Stars, by contrast, does not do that. Stars frickin' sucks. But even if it sucks and is poorly written and whatever, it doesn't somehow negate all the work and effort put into making seasons 1 through 3 as excellently written as they are. So don't do this. Don't paint the entire show as bad by pointing to 1 or 2 plot points that are shitty but don't affect all the good that was done in this show. That's simply disingenuous, and we don't do that here. What I do is I point to all the things that don't work about Crystal and I map out how it damages the individual episode or if it damages the show as a whole. Luna's characterization, Usagi's lack of heroic potential, Morga and the Dark Kingdom sucking at their job, the lack of well-written comedy, exposition, dialogue, the contrived moment-to-moment beats that enable the plot to happen, all of that is bad for episode 1. Not necessarily the coming episodes. The dream sequences and Mamoru being in a tuxedo are bad for future episodes, and I state that in the video. I may tease future problems that begin in episode 1, but I mainly keep all criticisms focused on episode 1. What I did not do is point at something that only applies to episode 1 and extrapolate that out to claim that one thing is the sole reason why the entire show is bad. Naru realizing the Morga incident wasn't a dream is bad for episode 1, not necessarily for any other episode. Usagi not reacting properly to the crazy supernatural things in episode 1 doesn't make any following episode worse. Umino being a flat nothing of a character doesn't mean the whole show is terrible. I don't take any of these points and claim they alone are the sole reason why this entire show is ass, because that's dishonest dookie and I want to make actual credible arguments. So don't confuse what this commenter is doing for what I do in my videos. Every claim I make, I back it up, and I back it up as best I can. I use references, I use examples, I use solid argumentation that appeals to logic and common sense. I give you, the viewer, ample context to judge my assessment for yourselves. This person is just going, lol, the whole show is bad because Galaxia revived Nehellenia that one time and that am random. Also, let's not forget that in the manga, this same character this commenter is bringing up holds a motivation that literally makes no sense. I cover it in the Eternal Movie Rant. Nehellenia is also a detail that at least some of the characters should be expecting, considering their memories have long since been restored or were never lost in the first place. Or here's a thought that the manga never considers: how about asking OG Queen Serenity's hologram all about the history of the Silver Millennium, and perhaps Nehellenia will come up. You know, after the whole Dark Kingdom incident, one would think that OG Queen Serenity would immediately go, you know, by the way, not sure if this will ever come up, but there's this evil dusty bitch called Nehellenia. Apparently she's a creature of pure darkness and evil or some stupid edgy bullshit, and when you were born, I banished her into the mirror dimension. But as I was doing that, she kinda cursed you guys, which is probably how the Dark Kingdom was able to attack the Moon Kingdom in the first place, now that I'm thinking about it. Anyway, look out for any weird shit happening as a result of an eclipse or whatever. One would think the loving mother of Princess Serenity would mention that in the year or so before the dream arc happens, but nah. God, this manga is so friggin' stupid. The point is, if you want to talk about plot points that make zero sense and destroys the plot of the entire series, yeah, the manga's got you covered. The anime doesn't do that type of stuff until we get to Super S and Stars. And even Super S didn't break the entire show with Nehellenia's motivation and backstory. It complicates things, and believe me, it doesn't make perfect logical sense when you really study it all out, but it doesn't break the narrative. The plot is still intact, despite the issues that arise from it. The manga and Crystal cannot say the same. So don't be like this person. Don't take one flaw with an aspect of something and extrapolate that out to bring down the entire work. Not unless you got the receipts to back that claim up.